Welcome to How Do They Afford That, the podcast that peeks into the financial lives of everyday Australians. I'm Michael Thompson. I'm a writer and co-host of the Fear and Greed Business Podcast. And as always, I'm with Canna Campbell, previously a financial planner, now the founder of Sugar Mama TV, the financial literacy platform that you will find pretty much everywhere, really. You've got YouTube, you've got podcasts like this one, books, Instagram, plenty more. Canna, I have a bit of an update for you.
I love an update.
Right, how are you going first, by the way?
I'm good, thank you. But now I'm excited about hearing this update.
Pleasantries out of the way. We have talked about bank accounts, and in one of our early episodes, I think it was about episode 4, you talked us through budgeting and how many bank accounts it kind of makes sense to have. And you were shocked and possibly a little appalled by my revelation that we have, I think it was 18 bank accounts across 4 banks. And it was a system that kind of works well. And we're talking today about New Year's resolutions. So I figure in the spirit of the new year, I would let you know that I have made some changes.
You have less than 18 bank accounts?
Let me just kind of tell you, I went back and did a more comprehensive, more thorough audit of my bank accounts, of our bank accounts, because I think I might have got it wrong when I said we have 18 bank accounts, because we decided to kind of tighten things up, really refine things. Yeah, it wasn't 18.
I don't know if I want to know the answer.
It was 26 bank accounts.
My financial anxiety is going through the roof right now. That is insane.
Well, it was, and the thing is, and one of the reasons I'm bringing it up was that Christmas, New Year, about 5 years ago was when I came up with the 18 account system, which I think I'll now have to call the 26 account system. And it was part of basically a New Year kind of spring clean. I don't know if you can really spring clean in summer, but it was just kind of polishing up the old bank accounts. The judgment on your face right now is quite extreme, and I'm feeling kind of suitably chastised. But do you know what we've got this down to now? We went from 26 accounts. Admittedly, this would sound more impressive if I was kind of going from 18 down to like 5.
Yeah.
But I'm going from 26 down to 16.
Oh, I'm impressed. That's okay, baby steps, but that's not baby steps. That's a serious consolidation. I'm so happy.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Good night.
You still look a little bit stressed.
No.
16 bank accounts.
Look, I have a formula for people to follow. But I say to everyone that I teach this formula to, it's like spaghetti bolognese. There's a recipe to follow, but people have their own key ingredients that they like in a spaghetti bolognese, such as Worcestershire sauce or brown sugar or chili oil. Everyone's got to find their own spaghetti bolognese recipe, ingredient system that works for them. It's the same with budgeting.
Yeah, some of it's just like more ingredients in their spaghetti bolognese than others.
Exactly.
I like 26 ingredients.
Exactly.
And you'll
16 now.
Yeah, 16 now. So it has become a less flavoursome spaghetti. You'll be pleased to know that 6 of them are actually individual savings goals.
Okay, that's cool.
So that's kind of less money moving around and more just kind of Christmas, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Kind of Christmas presents and Christmas spending is quarantined in one account, holidays quarantined in another account, things like that are long-term goals.
I hope these are online savings accounts so that you're not paying fees.
Oh, absolutely.
And getting bonus interest. Okay,
we
good.
pay no fees. So, yeah, do not worry about that. And 2 of them are offset accounts as well.
Very smart. How do you feel going from 26 to 16?
Well, considering I thought I was at 18, going back to 16 didn't actually kind of change it that much. But in my head, I was kind of going from 18 down to 10 or so. It's kind of that equivalent kind of feeling. It actually feels really good. It feels like suddenly there is a little bit more visibility over everything. And we've kind of divided it up into very similar to kind of what you took us through in the episode where we talked about budgeting and kind of the main account is for all those kind of daily kind of things, like groceries and various bits and pieces. The second one is for the fixed expenses that we know are going to be coming up, the mortgage, the registration, the insurances and things like that we know are not going to change, and that we have budgeted them out for the year based on what we've paid for the last 12 months, the last 24 months. And so overall, I'm actually feeling really good about it.
imagine where you'll be this time next year financially.
Yeah, it will have
Your
gone
accounts.
up to like 29 and then back down to 14. I just kind of feel like it's going to be kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and I'll just gradually
I
get
feel
better.
like you're on a path now and you're not going to look back. And I feel like you might even go, actually, I could probably consolidate these two.
Yeah, or in about a month, I'll come in and say, no, not enough.
I've had a bank account blowout.
Yeah, that's right. That is my addiction, and I want to talk to you about addiction as well, and because this is all about New Year's resolutions, and we want to kind of get some ideas on things that people should be thinking about now in terms of budgeting, thinking about kind of how they set themselves up for the next 12 months.
Yes.
But before we do that, know that anything we talk about today is general in nature. It is never personal, investment, strategic, or product advice. It is purely for financial education purposes only.
That's right, Michael. We don't know anything about your financial situation, goals, deadlines, or even what your risk profile might be. So it is essential that if you hear something of interest to you and you think, is that something I should be doing? Is that right for me? That is when we recommend you go and speak to a financial planner and ask them for personal financial advice based around your own financial situation and goals.
All right, New Year's resolutions. I think it doesn't matter really kind of when you're listening to this, whether it is kind of in February, for example. It's probably never too late to kind of take some of these things. But New Year's is as good a time as any to kind of stop, take stock of your finances and kind of figure out where you want to be in 12 months' time. So, but I want to start with the negative. I don't want to start all positive and happy, just rolling your eyes at me. Well, I figure if we get the bad stuff out of the way early, then we can kind of get to some really fun parts later. What should we be leaving behind? What habits, what bad financial habits belong in 2022 and do not deserve a place in the new year?
I think toxic debt, for sure. If you're someone who's had credit card debt in their life and just never seems to go away and never feels like you're on top of it.
Toxic debt is debt that doesn't serve a purpose, doesn't
it's money that you use to just buy stuff.
Yeah.
So, clothing, gadgets and gizmos, things that have depreciated in value, just consumerism really. And
it's not all debt is bad. We've talked about this.
Yeah, there is healthy debt. That's debt. It's tax deductible. You buy something, it grows in value. It provides you with a passive income. It might be, there are capital growth elements behind it. It actually aids your financial journey. So car loans, personal loans, credit card, buy now, pay later. That's the type of debt we should be leaving behind if we want to grow financially.
I feel like I failed here in listening to you because we have discussed the definition of toxic debt. And when I asked you just then the definition of toxic debt, the look on your face was one of, didn't you listen last time? So first New Year's resolution for me, listen better. Take more notes. All right, toxic debt. What's next?
Not having a financial goal, I think, is a big one. Often I will speak to people and they're like, I just seem to be never have my head above water. I'm just drifting. I'm in the same position as what I was the year before last, and year before that, and year before that. And I'll chat to them. I'm like, you don't have a goal. And they're like, yeah, it's to be better with money or wealthier. I'm like, no, that's not a goal. That's just a wish. You've got to have a defined financial goal with a deadline. The more detail, the better. It will give you direction. It will give you purpose. It will give you clarity. It will give you motivation. It's so incredibly important.
So are you talking about things like that could be far off, like paying your mortgage off in 20 years instead of 25? Or are you talking about you want to, in 12 months' time, you want to spend Christmas in Fiji rather than kind of at your parents' house?
Look, the more detail, the better. So, even that goal, for example, your goal of going to Fiji, well, hang on, okay, that's a great goal to have, but have a deadline. So there's a line in the sand. So I want to have $20,000 saved up by the 1st of December so that I can have Christmas in Fiji I can be in Fiji by the 20th of December, 2023. So suddenly you're going, all right, I now know I've got 11 months or 12 months to start planning for that trip. I know that trip is now going to cost me $20,000. I know that I'm going to be in Fiji, and you can start to feel that sense of actually imagining yourself sitting by the pool, sipping back on a cocktail, enjoying the fruits of all your hard work because you set a financial goal and you had a New Year's resolution.
So it is about being really specific.
Yeah. All of this stuff is very much mindset linked. And the more you can think about it and actually smell it and see it and almost touch it and grab it, the more motivated and driven you are to really make it. And then when it comes to sacrifices or distractions and temptations, they don't stand a chance when you've got a great goal that you're excited about. Sounding a bit like Anthony Robbins.
It actually was quite inspirational. Is that like manifesting? And
a little bit, yeah. Laws of attraction and
I'm not very new age with those I've seen that online, that word, manifesting. Is that?
I do this manifesting march challenge every year and it goes off on my socials as well as Frugal February, might I add. But there's a lot of magical stuff that comes from being open to the flow of money and being grateful for money as well.
So you do Frugal February.
Which I hate. It makes me a really cranky bitch. Am I allowed to say bitch?
Yes, you just did. Manifesting March.
Yes, it's where you open yourself up to the flow of money and the opportunities of money and the vibration of money and the energy of money. And people who do it have freaky things that happen. I feel like this is a podcast for another day and it's not for everyone because not everyone's open to this stuff. Yeah. But it's nuts what happens.
And then Angry April because of Frugal February, I'm assuming.
I'm tempted to, because Manifesting March is so magical and the freakiest things happen during Manifesting March. I'm almost inclined to now start doing Abundant April. And people who know me and been following me a long time have seen the freaky things that have happened. And I've actually interviewed people who do Manifesting March and what the stuff they've had happen to them. It's quite, and I've interviewed them on my podcast about what has happened. It's maybe we'll do a podcast on that, I think, another time.
All right. So things that we're leaving behind. Having toxic debt.
Not having a goal.
Not having a goal. What about resistance to budgeting?
Yes, having a budget. You've like this stupidity of I don't need a budget. That's just ridiculous. Yes, you might not be getting into debt and you might have money left over, but you could have potentially a lot more money left over if you had a budget. Also, it allows you to cut the financial wastage. Whenever I do a budget, I always find something in there. I'm like, I really don't value that anymore. That can go. And then having that power and that control and that insight to go, all right, great. We can increase our mortgage repayments by an extra $20 per week by cutting that subscription or, shopping here instead of there. It's really informative and it just puts you back into the driving seat and realize how much more in control you really are for your financial future.
Do you see, and through your career, have you seen a lot of people that just refuse to do a budget?
Oh,
yes. And why? Why is it just because it's too much work or they don't want to know?
I think there's a lot of pushback in wanting to know the truth of our cost of living. And even myself, like I don't wake up in the morning and go, what a beautiful day, I'm going to do my budget. Like, as you know, I do the budget sometimes in bed.
Yeah, that's right. You do it before you go to bed.
Exactly. But it's like going to the dentist. You don't want to do it, but you have to. And then you walk out of the dentist going, I have the cleanest feeling teeth ever. I don't want to eat anything for like hours because they feel so good. It's like your budget.
I don't think anyone is buying that you do not enjoy your budget and that you get up in the morning and go, oh yeah, I'm thinking about other things. No, you're thinking about your budget.
Look, the thing is, I budget in our financial goals. So I enjoy the progress of how a budget aids our family's financial well-being. Yeah. We have repayment plans on our mortgage in place. We have, our investing goals are in there as well, making sure we've got money set aside eventually to help pay for our children's education. All these things are factored in there. So it's only adding value to my life. So I respect my budget. Continuing
along those lines of kind of being unaware in terms of your budget, what about your super?
That's another big one. A lot of people have neglected their super. They think it's going to be too hard and take too much time. They don't even know where to start. And there's a sense of being overwhelmed, similar to a budget, I guess. But, making sure that you've got your superannuation, you know where it is, if it's right to consolidate it or not. And most importantly, you know where your superannuation is invested. So many people think your retirement superannuation account is like a savings account. No, it's actually invested. And if you don't proactively decide where it's invested, quite often your superannuation account provider will decide that for you. And it might be the wrong type of investment for you, or it might be something way out of your risk profile zone. So it is really important that you know where your superannuation is, you know how much you've got, because this is going to be most likely one of your biggest financial assets you'll ever own. Yeah. And that it's going to help support your retirement at a time and date and at a quality of life that you want. But also another big one, and I was talking to a girlfriend, it was actually this time last year, I was having lunch with her and her fiance, and she was telling me she didn't realize her employer wasn't paying super for years and years. And she lost all that money.
Wow.
I know, isn't that sad? I said to her that there's some things you can do to try and chase that money, but she said other people had gone there and never got anywhere. And I didn't want to push it because it's a friend, not a client.
Yeah.
But I was horrified. She was always something like $35,000. And she'd never checked her superannuation account. And this had been going on for years. And all the staff members fell into the same.
Well, there have been some pretty high-profile cases of underpayment of super and
delayed payment and on.
And also kind of the grey area between kind of contractors and things in terms of whether employers are required to pay super. So it just makes sense to check it.
Check it. So
and if you
important.
don't know, ask as well and get some professional advice. This is where it is so important that if there's anything that you're not sure about, and when you're kind of thinking about those long-term goals, get some advice.
Exactly. And it's better, like if she had checked her super 2 years ago, 3 years ago, she wouldn't be looking at this massive financial loss in her superannuation account because now her super is so far behind than the average person. Not that I believe with, looking at what the average person has and thinking that's normal or not, and using that as your barometer. But she's
less than what she should have had.
Way less. And she's also done a stint living overseas. So she's barely got anything in superannuation. And she's a similar age to me. You just think, gosh, that's just not great. So check your super. And also, your super is your investment portfolio. It's just locked away. So if you're serious about getting ahead financially, your superannuation should be a big part of a comprehensive financial plan.
All right. One last bad habit to leave behind in 2022. And this isn't necessarily a financial thing, but it actually is. Smoking/vaping.
Yes.
You have done some work, some research into kind of just how much that is actually costing, and it is mind-blowing.
Oh, it's frightening. So obviously there is no judgment here of people who vape. And these numbers can be replaced with buying chocolate bars like myself or buying lunch at work. So I'm using vaping as an example. But, okay, the average vape costs around about $80, okay? Now, assuming you never lose that vape and you spend on average $250 per month on vaping juices, over the course of 40 years, that's $120,000 literally being smoked away, like up in smoke. Yeah, that's a lot of money. And obviously you've got to factor in inflation and so forth. However, if you were to replace a toxic habit like this, and instead of spending it on vapes or vape juices, and you invested $80 upfront initially and then contributed $250 per month in that same investment plan, and I'm using a diversified investment portfolio matched against, say, a growth risk profile. And again, this is not advice. I'm just using it as an example for educational purposes. And you were to reinvest all of your dividends and take a long-term buy and hold, which means you don't sell anything or change anything in the portfolio and trigger any capital gains tax or brokerage. And again, factoring in, accounting for income tax and inflation and brokerage and online fees, you would have as a gross figure potentially up to $757,000 over the same 40 years. How do you feel about that?
It makes me want to start vaping just so that I can give it up and have all this extra money. It's that's extraordinary.
Yeah. And that's assuming you only buy one vape, that $80. And most people, I see vapes in the street. People drop them all the time. So obviously people not buying one vape at $80 lasts them 40 years.
Yeah.
You can actually bump these numbers up quite substantially. But that's $750,000.
And that's, as you say, that can be kind of substituted for other kind of habits.
Takeaway coffees, alcohol.
All of those kind of little habits, those little kind of spends that could be kind of replaced with a long-term financial goal.
Exactly. And I've used an average gross figure of 7.5%. So you do need to factor in brokerage and the ongoing fees. But that's not a out of control projection I've used at all.
That is just amazing.
I know.
And I think that would actually shock a lot of people.
Yes, it's a great motivation if you are trying to quit vaping. Think about that $757,000 in your superannuation account or off your home loan or in savings or in your investment portfolio.
That is amazing. All right. Well, we've got all the bad stuff out of the way, all the stuff we're leaving behind. We will come back in a second with the good stuff for 2023.
I like the sound of that.
All right, so New Year's resolutions. We've kind of looked at the things that we are leaving behind in 2022, the bad habits, bad financial habits. And we're now looking ahead to 2023 and kind of where we almost want to be at the end of this year. We talked a little bit about goals and setting goals. They shouldn't just be far off in the distance.
I don't recommend that. Look, I think having one big goal, one big dream is incredibly important, one very valuable to one's life. And you can use that as an anchor and actually work back if you want. But I do highly recommend having short, fun goals, where you can do it in bursts and sprints and then, recharge and then go again. And because you have these short-term goals that are all positively aligned to that big goal, you actually have a sense of progress. And in my book, Mindful Money, I say progress and $1,000 project, progress fuels success, because it's kind of like, going on an exercise plan when you can see, oh, look, I can actually run an extra kilometer. You feel great. And you actually are committed and go, okay, I want to see if I can run an extra kilometer. Or if you're on a health kick plan where you're trying to lose weight, every time you step on the scale and go, I've lost another half a kilo, you feel inspired and motivated to keep going because you can see that progress. That's why I love the concept of short, sharp, bite-size, and therefore achievable, manageable goals.
So what are some examples? Kind of what should we be looking at? Is it kind of things like paying off a credit card or going out for dinner, that kind of thing? Or
look, I have this concept called the $1,000 project, and this has made people, lots and lots of people around the world, get on top of their finances and actually start achieving goals. So you would take, for example, someone who's got, say, $8,000 in credit card debt, and you go, all right, my goal is to get rid of that credit card debt. So I'm just going to focus on coming up with $1,000. And I'm using my project called the $1,000. You might be a $500 project, but you focus on that short, sharp, like manifestation or savings or hustling of $1,000 and then put it towards that goal. Mm-hmm. So now you're $7,000 in progress. But that feeling of going, wow, I'm actually one step closer to being debt-free, inspires you to then go on to hustle up the next $1,000. So you could use that for, say, a financial goal. If it's a goal, for example, to save up to have a Christmas in Fiji, which I feel like might be one of your financial goals, you would say, okay, well, I've got $20,000 I need to save up. If you think about that $20,000, that for some people, including myself, I would feel very overwhelmed thinking, oh my God, that's so much money. How am I going to do it? And you freeze and you panic and you get overwhelmed and your brain can't think properly about solutions. Whereas you go, I'm going to just come up with $1,000. I'm going to find a way of saving $1,000 or earning an extra $1,000 or getting creative and just putting myself out there. And there you have your $1,000. You create your $1,000 and you repeat that process over and over again until 20 times until you've got your $20,000 throughout the year.
You have to be pretty disciplined. I don't mean to be negative about this, but you'd have to be quite disciplined with that $1,000 that you don't then kind of, because, it seems like human nature that as soon as you earn more money or you earn any money, your living expenses expand to consume that additional money. Do you just
Not
put it away?
necessarily. And this is the key about setting a financial goal that's meaningful to you. So if you find a goal and you think, I really want that to achieve this goal. This means a lot to me. And this is why I have actually 3 chapters dedicated to this in my book, Mindful Money. And I talk about the mindset and actually programming yourself correctly so that you don't want to go and do that. Why would you want to go and work your backside off to save $1,000, then go and spend $800 on a reward? And don't get me wrong, rewards and celebrations are very, very important. If you want to achieve a big goal, we can't always be operating at this like aggressive efficiency. It's not sustainable. But when you have a goal that is meaningful to you, you're passionate about it, you're driven, you have a sense of perspective and insight and control where you go, I can see that lifestyle creep and I don't want to subject myself to that. Or I'll allow a little bit of an extra lifestyle creep, but only within a certain controlled amount. And you have this different sense of perspective. Like if someone said to me, would you prefer this new dress or would you prefer, $500 towards your share trading account? I'm excited about what that share trading account represents to me. And I say share trading, like I'm a blue chip, long-term buy and hold investor. I'm not some sort of crypto trader or anything like that. To me, that is more meaningful and valuable to me. It's a dress. There's thousands of dresses out there.
Okay, I think we've actually covered a few elements of it in one go there, which is useful because that's not just why it's important to have goals. It's also why it's important to understand the motivation behind those goals.
Yeah, it's called your money mindset.
Yeah. Okay. And then big thing for this year is budgets. Is just
big time
getting that understanding of where your money is going every week and doing your budget so that you can make sure you can actually cover those costs and achieve some goals.
Regardless of it being a financial resolution, that budget is so important, and particularly with obviously inflation and interest rates and achieving any goal in your life, because I always recommend people budget in their goals into their budget so they actually prioritize and make it happen.
So do you think then we've also covered why, or rather how you avoid failing your financial goals there? Because it feels like one of the biggest problems would be setting too big a goal.
Too big or not a meaningful goal.
Yeah.
One that you think, oh, yeah, that sounds cool, but you're not really committed and connected to that goal. And this is why I recommend actually spending some time, almost sound a bit spiritual, but doing some soul searching and go, is this something that's really important to me? And if so, why is it important? What does that represent to me? How would I feel if I achieved that goal? So you start really understanding you and what's important to you and your why, because that is what's going to help you stay motivated and focused. And naturally, temptations and distractions will come your way. And then because you're connected, you can then pick and choose what is allowed as a distraction and a temptation, and then when to step into that, and then when to step back on it and to get back on the bandwagon again.
Can I add one into the list of things to do this year? And that is to start, if you don't already, communicating better about money.
Yeah.
And this is kind of going back to some of our earliest episodes about how important it is to talk to your partner, to talk to your family, and
So
don't keep money a secret and work towards your common goals.
keeping money as a secret is very, very toxic, I think, to your general well-being. It can sort of eat away, and honesty is always the best policy. And when you do become clean to your partner, you can work together as a team, and two people are better than one. And obviously you can focus on the solutions rather than the actual problem.
One last one, and this is about timing, because obviously we're talking about New Year's resolutions, and so the temptation would be to January 1, make all the changes at once, get your budget into shape, set all your financial goals, give up vaping, and start communicating about this. Refinance your home loan if that's kind of what you want to do as one of your financial goals. Is it risky to do all of these things all at once? In that, could you be kind of setting yourself up to fail by taking on too much change?
I think it's very personal. I think, sometimes it's good to strike while the iron's hot, because you can be very efficient in getting a lot of things done and really sort of jumping in and like making progress. That can be great. But obviously it needs to be sustainable. So you need to also set up the right systems in place so that you don't just have this amazing January period and then just drop the ball for the rest of the year. You need to be working on a regular basis. So, reading a financial book or listening to a podcast every week, perhaps on how do they afford that and Sugar Mama's Fireplay, so that you're regularly feeding yourself with the right motivation and education, so that you're not just doing one thing like refinancing. You're actually now refinanced and also paying off your home loan at a faster rate. And you're also at the same time fixing up your superannuation and making sure it's correctly invested for you. You're also, learning how to tweak your budget so that you know all the little saving hacks along the way, and managing your cash flow and bank accounts correctly, and learning how to invest and all the different investment options that are out there and what is the right one for you. So it's not a get rich quick scheme or something you just, like you've stepped out of a hair salon. It's an ongoing process and journey, one where you're learning new things all the time.
Okay. All right. I think given kind of plenty of food for thought in terms of, and this is a very personal thing. It's not just something where you can take a template and apply it to kind of New Year's resolutions. It really must be kind of based on your own circumstances. But really, New Year's is as good a time as any to stop and think about kind of where you're up to.
Absolutely.
So the things that we're leaving behind last year is toxic spending, toxic debt, wherever possible, in terms of that credit card kind of debt. And as we discussed, the definition that you had given me previously and I did not listen to last time, refusing to do a budget, leave that one behind. Not having financial goals, that's gone. Not checking your super, that is definitely one for 2022. This year, 2023, we are all about short, fun goals, understanding our why.
Oh, so important.
For those goals.
Money mindset makes a big difference.
Yeah. Doing our budgets, checking budgets, setting those goals that are linked to well-being, and kind of doing as much as we feel we are capable of doing. Not necessarily overcommitting, but making some meaningful change.
Exactly. And, following your intuition, knowing that, okay, well, I've done really well, I've worked really hard. I'm going to have a quick little break, but then I'm getting back on the bandwagon again. And I will not self-sabotage in any way whatsoever because you can see the progress. It feels good. It feels rewarding. It feels inspiring. And you're inspiring other people around you as well.
Yeah. And hopefully it'll last longer than, you never see more people exercising than you do on about January 2 or January 3, when everyone's made the New Year's resolution. I'm going to get up every morning and go for a run. And they're just like the footpaths are crowded on January the 2nd. And by January 5th, they're all asleep.
Yeah, exactly. Because they haven't worked out their why. They haven't tapped into it yet.
Yes, they haven't manifested it. For manifesting March.
We're going to do a manifesting podcast and I'm going to turn you around on this.
I'm sorry if I sound a little bit like a skeptic.
Yes,
I'm
very
here
cynical.
I'm here to be convinced. And I'm
convinced and converted.
Oh yes, I like the sound of that.
Hallelujah.
Okay. Thank you very much for listening to How Do They Afford That? Canna, how do we find you?
The best way to get in contact with me, and that is through Instagram at Sugar Mama TV. And this is where I also provide you with all the immediate swipe up, sticker tap links to all of our content the moment it goes live. On this podcast, How Do They Afford That? And of course, Sugar Mama's Fireplay and my YouTube channel.
Yeah, and I'll squeeze in a mention as well of our daily podcast, Fear and Greed, as well, which is very much focused on business news, but it's very handy for anyone who wants to get an idea of what's going on in the world.
I love your podcast.
And that's also on Instagram, Fear and Greed Podcast. Look at us. We're just very Instagram native.
You're just spruiking us up.
That's right. We could do that all day. All right. Thank you very much. Remember to hit subscribe or follow, and please leave us a review too. We absolutely love reading reviews, especially if they're good ones. Next week, we are talking about financial independence, retire early. It is a movement that's kind of really taken off in the last few years, and I'm very interested, Canna, in hearing your opinion on it.
I have a lot to share on this topic.
Ooh, don't miss it.